let's talk a little Tom Staggs.
Oh, okay.
I think he's interesting. I think he's very interesting because here's the thing with Tom Staggs, right?
Right.
And it kind of goes to what I've said many times in the past. When people look, you can't really judge these executives based on former positions, because I saw this a lot with Bob Chapek, right?
Yeah.
Where he this, that, and the other in his past, so therefore he's going to be terrible in the future. Kind of opinions, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing with Tom Staggs is that this guy was the chief financial officer of the Walt Disney Company for years. I mean, this guy was, you want to talk about a bean counter, a money guy. This guy was the top money guy.
Mm-hmm.
The Walt Disney Company accountant, essentially, for years, right? Yeah. And if I would have told you years ago, hey, you know what? We're going to take that guy, the guy who's the top money counter, the top accountant of the Walt Disney Company, and we're going to make him the parks chief, a lot of you fans would say, hey, you know what? That's not a good decision. This is a money guy. He's not going to understand the parks.
Right.
He's all about the bottom line. But we saw with Tom Staggs, it was completely the opposite. He was able to adapt. He was a CFO. He became the president of Walt Disney Parks and Resorts. And when he was head of that role, he did a phenomenal job. He was the one that greenlit Galaxy's Edge, Pandora, I think it was Cars Land as well, Shanghai. This guy, the stuff that was on his watch was quality, and he fought for quality. Like with New Fantasyland and Walt Disney World, he fought for stuff that was more diverse. And he even said, like, my kids, my boys, he has little boys, I guess, and he's like, there's nothing there for them to do, right?
Right.
And he fought for a more diverse kind of like offering in that land. He understood the park, even though he was a money guy. And that's what I've been kind of saying all along with these executives. You really don't know until they get into the position, because a lot of times these executives kind of do what they have to do when they're in the role that they're in.
Yeah.
And so Tom Staggs proved himself. He knew how to manage the money. He knew how to do the parks. I would love to see him run the Walt Disney Company eventually, but where are you at with this in terms of, like, look, Chapek is going through some shit right now. It's very possible Chapek does not renew his contract. And we've heard from the Hollywood trades that Tom Staggs is on that short list to replace. We heard from the Hollywood trades that Peter Rice is on that short list.
Yeah.
Kevin Meyer is on that short list.
Yeah.
But how would you feel about like a Tom Staggs? Like if he were to come back and sort of take over for Chapes, how would you feel?
It's interesting because on two levels. One, to respond to your comment about him, this was a time when he actually was placed into the parks division position. At that time, he was switched out with Jay Rasulo, who was then took Staggs' position as CFO. And that was Bob Iger seeing which one adapted to their new role best, so that they could succeed him as CEO themselves. And Tom Staggs, I got to be honest, I think he did that with flying colors. He really jumped into a role that you might have thought was out of his wheelhouse, like OG described. But, really kind of took it on and made some moves right out the gate. New Fantasyland was a project that was approved by Jay Rasulo and mapped out and spec'd out, and that budget had been approved and whatever. But when Tom Staggs went in there, like OG was saying, with his little boys, he's like, man, there's not much for them to do. The reason why he was saying that was because Enchanted Tales with Belle, which, by the way, has been reduced to a meet and greet as of right now. It's not even the experience that it's supposed to be. There were supposed to be like 4 of those. Cinderella was supposed to get one. I think Tinkerbell was supposed to get one. All that kind of stuff. And it was like, wow, you're going to have this brand new expansion for this land Magic Kingdom desperately needs, right? You're going to have Little Mermaid and that's it. I mean, we need another attraction in there. And Tom Staggs was the guy to figure that out and understood, I heard you have a Seven Dwarves mine car, attraction concept. Why don't you go ahead, pitch me that, because we need something. We need to change something here. And that was mid construction.
Wow.
Big deal to have done that. But look, what is it? The director for Avatar,
Cameron.
James Cameron, right? Sorry. It's the lights. It's the lights, I swear. James Cameron comes on and says, hey, I want everybody to understand when it came to the opening of Pandora, the World of Avatar. I want everybody to understand this was not JPEG's doing, this was Tom Staggs. Wow. He attributed to him directly. That's come from James Cameron. He was well-liked, understood the role. One of the reasons why Pandora even went into Animal Kingdom and not Disney's Hollywood Studios, which is where they originally want to put it, was because of Tom Staggs understanding, no, this belongs to Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom needs something as well. Right. And it's a good thing that he did that, because that freed up the space for when Bob Iger did acquire Lucasfilm, did acquire the rights to Star Wars, and now they had a franchise to put there as well. Forward thinking, right? Understood too, let's not take over a land like Toontown or Tomorrowland at Disneyland. Let's set it aside for this expansion space for Disneyland, and actually expand the capacity there. So, again, I liked him in that role. I thought he did extremely well. And as a CEO, look, he's been circled around by other media companies, specifically when Les Moonves was going through his issues at CBS, Viacom, right? That was a pretty tumultuous thing. But Staggs was the guy who they were looking at and going, hey, maybe we can get him. And the only reason why he wasn't selected as a CEO by the board back when he was with Disney is because, honestly, it was Ike Perlmutter who became... This is one of the problems with Iger's decisions to acquire companies like he did. He made very, very powerful shareholders. Extremely powerful. And now they play an outsized role in the live decisions that go on in the company. And it was Ike Perlmutter who said, you know what? He doesn't have the relationships in Hollywood. Can't have him, can't select him. And he went out. He left. He walked out the door. And it's like, yeah, but Chapek didn't either.
I know.
It's like that. That's not even a lateral move. That's a severe downgrade as far as I'm concerned. Now, we're still living through Chapek. Maybe he turns it around, we'll see. But I always thought that Tom Staggs was the guy. Out of all the guys, Kevin Meyer, Peter Rice, whatever, always thought Tom Staggs was the guy. And that was going back all the way from when he left the company back in, what was it, 2016,
I believe?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and that's the thing, too. Like, if you're going to have two guys that have no experience with talent, you have a Bob Chapek, no experience with talent, and you have a Tom Staggs, no experience with talent. Yeah. You pick the guy, and this goes to Iger's judgment. I want to make it very clear. This goes to Bob Iger's judgment. Yeah. You pick the guy who has the more kind of like people skills. Yeah. Because if you don't have the talent, if you don't have the talent experience, then you make up for that with your people skills. Because then you can hit the ground running. And Chapek doesn't have either. He didn't have the talent experience. He didn't have the people thing either, like the skills. He didn't have that either. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, at least Tom Staggs, he doesn't have on his resume, he doesn't have like that talent experience, but he's a people person. We've seen him at the Disney parks kind of events and stuff, and he's very charismatic. He's nerdy and lovable. He's kind of a Michael Eisner kind of figure. The guy is nerdy as hell, but you just love the guy. It's like, oh, come on, Tom Staggs. He's cool, He's so nerdy that he's cool,
Hey, he was personable with me and my family. That's from personal experience. That guy was a people person for sure. He could establish those relationships. You're absolutely right.
You can establish those relationships. So if you're not going to have the experience with talent, at least pick a people person, someone who's skilled in kind of that thing, right?
Right.
And I think Bob Iger really dropped the ball. I know it's blasphemy to criticize Mr. Iger.
Oh, no.
But
we got to play the drop.
God, I sound like a Bob Iger dick rider.
there
Can't
it is.
disparage Iger.
You can't disparage Iger. He's in the same camp as Daddy Josh. But the fact of the matter is that he dropped the ball. Like, Bob Chapek has none of the qualities. And I defend him. I defended him in the beginning of this video. I'm not trying to crap all over Bob Chapek, but if you're looking at two men, if you're looking at, Tom Staggs, who doesn't have a history with talent, but is a people person, and then you have Chapek, who has no history of talent and is not a people person, he's an introvert. Well, I'm going to pick the people person though, because he's more likely to get those relationships going than the introvert. It made no sense to me. And look, we're obviously, myself, Vash, and everyone in the chat, we're not privy to the C-suite conversations. It could be a lot more nuanced, a lot more gray area. I'm sure there is. But on face value, I don't know what the hell Bob Iger was thinking. Letting him go and saying, you know what? Chapek's our guy.
It's a crazy